Alrighty. So we got a lot to do for today's or tomorrow class. I'm recording this video at night before the class. So let's go ahead and try to push a little the gears to hurry up on seeing the grammar topics. Probably or yeah, probably you will be seeing or watching this video tomorrow morning, which is Saturday. So okay, let's go ahead and explain it. I'm gonna explain just their reasons how to use them and their importance as well. However, remember we're gonna have a lot of practice as well, and I would like to see how well you can develop in these topics. All right, so quantifiers begin. What is quantifier? As you can see at the beginning, it says it explains an amount. Sorry, I said explain instead of explains. There you go. It explains an amount of known or unknown things or nouns, and they go before the noun. So all quantifiers will just explain the amount of nouns that you have. And in the sentence, you write the quantifier right before the noun. Remember, a noun is any object. It could be a mouse, it could be a keyboard, it could be a computer, it could be a laptop, and things like that. All right, that's a noun. Now, what specifically kind of nouns we can use? So it says they kind surrounds a group without telling you the exact quantity. And that is, for example, there are many cars outside. So, first of all, many, remember, we use many for countable nouns, which means you can count them. As you can see, there are some cars at your left. Let me just look this color. So, there's these cars. Alright. So on the drawing, of course, I'm showing 3 cars. There are many cars outside. So there are a quantity, a specific quantity. However, you don't necessarily are telling there are 3 cars precisely. There are many cars. There are too many. However, they are finite. They have a finite length. All right. Another example is they can be counted. Of course, you can say one, for example, a penny. Remember, what's penny? It's like a coin, all right? Some people call it as toonies as well. So that little coin, all right? Let me make a small drawing here so probably you can understand. So these ones, all right? Those are pennies as well. So 1 penny, of course, you have one of these little coins. 2 pennies, it will mean that you have 2 small coins, or you have little coins, or you can have many coins. It depends. All right, but you can count them if you have a specifically or precisely a number of them. Then you can go ahead and name it. Another thing, it can measure specific part of a group. For example, all, most, each, and none. So all, it surrounds a whole group. All right. Most, it's telling you that from the whole group, most of the people. Let's suppose there are 10 people in the group. All right. So the group is comprised of 10 people, and when you say all, it's because you are selecting or you're talking about the 10 people in the group. When you want to use most, it's because probably you are using 9 out of 10 people in that group. Mm-hmm. And most, it surrounds or it will choose or select the greatest amount as possible. Each, you are talking to each individual person or individually. So in the group, remember, it's still being comprised of 10 people. However, when you say each, you're talking about a singular person and every single person as well. So you are gonna still talking about all of them, but individually. So you're gonna first with one of the members of the group, they and you move forward to the second member of the group, and so you keep going until you reach the 10th member of the group. Okay, unknown is the opposite of all, which means you are talking about no one. Don't worry, we're gonna clear or clarify the questions you may have after watching this video. Okay, we're gonna practice as well. Now, they can be uncountable as well. So you don't necessarily need to have a quantifier to count. How is that possible? Remember, you can have as positive and negative situations. But these uncountable nouns, they do not need a, and things like that, alright? They only can be used with some, as you can see here. So they are used with some, any, much, and a little. For example, information. You cannot say I have one information, I have two information. That's wrong, okay? In the English grammar, you cannot number these kind of nouns that are general: information, research, advice. So it's wrong, and I'm talking about for all of you that you made these kind of mistake very often during the previous term or last term, better said, which was that some of you may, oh yeah, I made a research. So probably in the Spanish it may sound logical. However, in English this is a grammar mistake. Why? Because research itself doesn't have a specific quantity. Research is something general. It's like if you said, for example, you make research or with information. Let's go ahead with the word information. All right. So information is still being general. Information is something that you retrieve from the internet or probably the books get, or I don't know, any other source of information, okay, where you will find interesting facts that could help you understand any topic. So that's information. It's general. The same happens with research. So research is a general noun. It's not countable. You cannot limit it. You just make research. In advice, you didn't make an advice, one advice. No, advice is general. So you come here for advice. I need some advice. I made some research. Yes, they are acceptable. Okay, because it's general. So you made some. Probably you couldn't find the whole information on the web about a specific topic, and probably that took you to limiting or to limit your projects. So you make some research, which means it's not the whole thing, because that's impossible to retrieve every single information to have everything done. Okay, things like this. Now, for example, there are some that could use both countable and uncountable. All right, and I think it's because of the next. As you can see here, there are two pictures. The one on the left shows cup of coffee. Now pay attention how I'm saying it or explaining it. A cup of coffee, which means there's one cup of coffee. However, when I'm talking about the substance itself, I just call it coffee. I don't have to use any quantifier. Okay, so I just say, oh, there's coffee. I have coffee. Mm-hmm. However, if I'm talking about the specific number of cups, the specific number of glasses, or things like that that I'm drinking, or I drank some other days, or I will drink in the future, probably. I don't know. I'll call it. Then I can number it. So if I said, I'll have a cup of coffee, or I had a cup of coffee before coming to work or before commuting to work, then of course I'm talking about a specific number. So how many cups of coffee did I have? I had a cup of coffee, which means only one. I had two cup of coffees, two, three. So as you can see, there are none. These kind of rules that I'm providing to you, it's not for you to just or to memorize. I mean, these are not good for memorizing, but for understanding. To understanding, sorry, but to understanding. Okay. Now, how can you understand this information better? Well, here's what happens. So you first gotta think, or you should identify the noun at least. All right. What kind of noun? What is the type? Is it countable? Countable? Not countable? Things like that. Now identify the size. How many of them there are? Is it gonna be only one? Is it gonna be plural? Is it gonna be several of them? Things like that. Okay. And ask yourself whether it's going to be affirmative or negative or even a question, or are you gonna offer or make a request. All right, those are the three main rules. So that's why you can say many to something to surround not a specific but a great number of any item or nouns. You can number them by saying one, two, three using the numbers. You can measure a specific part of the group using almost each noun. You can use it as countable or uncountable, as were said, as such as some nouns as information, research, advice. Some nouns that only will work with some, any, much, and a little. Some are countable, of course. However, you don't say a specific number on these kind of nouns. So you have to use some. So that it could be either three, four, five, or several different indexes and books and resources that you may use to retrieve some information or to make your research. However, of course, it is important to understand that some is still retrieving a certain amount of resources. So you are not reading an infinite number of books to retrieve information, right? But probably you will open three, four books depending on how deep the investigation you want to be. Okay. So hopefully everything goes well. So far so good. I hope so. If not, remember tomorrow after watch your video, this video, we're gonna go ahead and clear with any questions. All right. Now, how can you know which are countable? Well, right next to the countable question mark and the letters written in yellow, you have many, few, and a few, several, each, and every. Uncountable, it could be much, little, or a little, a great deal of. That's it. All right. So if you have a countable noun, remember you first gotta think about the noun. All right. Is it gonna be countable? Not countable. So if it's gonna be countable, then which one should I use? Many, few, a few, several, each, every, all. Mm-hmm. Uh, Uncountable. Well, all is not here because remember, all, yes, it surrounds the whole group. However, it's not necessarily countable, right? It's not specifically countable. It's just around the entire group. It could become an entire group that is not precise because it could be comprised by 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. So you're not 100% sure about that. Now, uncountable. If it's going to be uncountable, then should I use much, little, a little, a great deal of? Well, it will depend on what you want to communicate. What would you like to communicate? All right. Now, you can use both types of quantifiers. Of course, with some, any, which are the same. Some and any, they are countable, but one are in positive, other in negatives. We're gonna see it in a moment. A lot of, lots of, plenty of, enough, more, most, less, and least. All right. So some. Let's begin with some. When do you use some? Okay, we use some for affirmative sentences and questions only when you are offering or making a request. Like, for example, let's suppose that. No, wait, before I explain some, I would like to go ahead and jump with any first. So, an any, it's for negative sentences and questions as well, even when it doesn't matter which or what am I talking about. So, any and some have two meanings, two different meanings. Some is for affirmative sentences and questions. However, any, aside the fact that we use it to highlight negative sentences, we use it as well in questions. What's the difference between some and any in questions? Okay, this is what's gonna happen. Some only you're gonna ask in questions if you have a request. Otherwise, you're still using any. Do you have any questions, for example? That's any. Why? Because I'm just asking, but I'm not making a request. Would you have any tape that I can take borrowed? Borrowed. Which means if you may happen to have some tape, sticker, or stick, that's you want, no, stick, no, sticker, that I can take or that you can lend me for a moment. So I'm making your request. That's why. Would you have Do you have any questions? It's straightforward. Would you have some tape that I can take borrowed? Okay, now I'm making a request. Would you have any tape that I can take borrowed? It's still being correct, okay? It's still being fine. I mean, that's fine. It's still understandable. However, it's way more common to use some whenever you make a request. Now, if you're offering, let me ask you, would you like something to drink? Would you like some coffee? It means that I'm offering you something. Would you like some coffee? It means I'm offering you coffee. Would you like some pop? I'm offering you to drink soda. Would you like some water? I'm offering you a glass of water, or probably a bottle of, well, not a bottle of water. Otherwise, I would say, would you like some bottle of water, for example? But it's still being an offering, okay? So I'm offering you that. That's the difference between some and any. Okay, remember, any is with the negative sentences, so you must always use the negative auxiliary, the auxiliary, all right, or auxiliary, better said. So, which is this auxiliary? Remember, if it's present, we use don't or doesn't for third person. If you are talking about present perfect, haven't or have not, or hasn't and has not. So things like that are necessary. For example, I don't have any sugar left, which means they are empty. The bottle or the container where I preserve my sugar, it's already empty. So I don't have any. You cannot say I have any. No, that's wrong. I don't have any. Always use negative auxiliary as well. Okay, let's move forward with a lot of and lots of. So a lot of and lots of, they technically mean the same. They refer to a high amount of things or nouns. Better said, nouns is, I think it's a word that explains precisely the meaning of this in this situation. So a lot of, it's still being specific and on a high quality. Lots of is just formal of saying a lot of. All right, that's it. It's peasy, right? Simple as that. Now, what's the difference between a few and few, and a little and little? Okay, remember, few are for countable nouns, little are for uncountable nouns. Therefore, few and a few, I wrote it as good or enough. So a few, it means good or enough, which means it's countable. It means that you don't have too many things or enough. However, it's still being possible to use it. For example, if you say, we have a few sugar, no, we have a few books, it means that you, to lend, for example, we have a few books to lend, it means that you still have books, not too many, but you have a few of them that you can still using to borrow it. But if you say, we have few books, it means that they are not enough, and of course that's more like negative, so you cannot use it. All right, little and a little are the same. A little for positive things, like, I mean, little is still being that they are not enough, but a little is still being possible to use it, whereas little, it's not very common and possible to use it. And we can use, finally, we can have both both quantifiers, all right, or other kind of quantifiers, which is both, to be specific or talk about two or more nouns. No, sorry, two nouns. So both, you only use two nouns. So for example, if you say, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer the black keyboard or the red keyboard? I want both, which means you want the two of them. All right. Either. Which one do you prefer? The black keyboard or the red keyboard? Either one is fine, which means it doesn't matter as long as still being a keyboard, for example. So you don't care about the color, you only care about the functionality. So either one is fine, it means, or either is fine, you're saying that both of them are good to be used, all right, are good to be purchased. Neither is the negative thing, all right, it's the opposite of either. So you don't say either one is fine. Neither, it means that probably, you know what, if you don't like the keywords, I don't like how they look like, don't like their color, so I want neither. Which keyword do you want, the red one or the black one? Neither. Neither keyword will satisfy my needs, which means you don't want any of those keywords because they don't have that specific functionality or functions to cover your needs. Enough. It's something that you don't need anything more, but it doesn't have anything less. So it's just enough. Okay? So they are the quantifiers. Now, remember, how can you use the quantifiers? So there are three main rules that I told you at the beginning of this video. So number one, always identify the noun. Okay? think about, is it countable, uncountable, all right, or non-countable per se. If it's hard for you to understand uncountable, then you can say that's non-countable. That's acceptable as well. Second rule: size. Always identify your size. Is it big? Is it little? By size, it means not only like the dimensions, but like how many or much. Okay? And number three, last but not least, just ask yourself, is it positive or negative, or questions? Okay, so that should be do, so that should do this topic. Those are the quantifiers. So remember, just watch the video as many times as you need. They will be available for you at every moment. And tomorrow's class, we're gonna just practice a little more about them, okay? So that you can fully understand it. Alright, furthermore, I wish to have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.